Good morning, fellow Ghanaians. So there is something deeply unsettling happening in Accra, something so gradual that many are hardly noticing it. Yet it's so pervasive that it has crept into nearly every corner of our lives. The city is becoming a place where existence itself now carries a price tag, where every inch of public space is being cordoned off and monetized, where the simple act of being outside your home alone requires a fee, a ticket, or a transaction. In short, Accra is quietly drifting into a form of gentrification that has nothing to do with high-rise apartments or luxury districts, but everything to do with the slow disappearance of free public communal life. And this episode is inspired by thoughts first triggered by a brilliant piece that have been written about so many who capture that's something that feels so important, but many rarely articulate. That Accra is becoming a place increasingly where we do not get what we need. It is a city where you need to pay for every single thing. You have to buy your right to do each and everything. Beaches, entire coastline of Accra have been fenced off, and now you have to pay per entry. Take Laboma, for instance. They now charge 50 cedis just to enter. Then an extra 20 cedis if you want to park in certain areas. And if God help you, if you get a nature call, you have to pay again. So for a family of 5, you have to spend so much for the privilege of touching Ghana's own sea. How did we get here? How did we become a society where urinating in such a space, you would have to get a receipt and pay before you can do so? Those who argue that the fees will help keep the beaches clean miss the point entirely. The whole point of having a functional government is to ensure that certain essential public services and public spaces remain free to the public. We cannot resolve the failure of the state by punishing citizens. And even if some maintenance cost must be recovered through commercial activities, it should never be at the expense of ordinary Ghanaians' right to simply exist in their own natural environment. And the beaches are only the beginning. Show me one major, well-maintained, fully free public park in Accra that anyone can enter without payment. Just one. The Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park charges a fee. The Fia Sutherland Children's Park, once a national treasure, has been left to rot, insulted by our own neglect. Any green space is quickly emerging and being eyed by developers, fenced off and converted into wedding grounds or event centers. And some pavements even have been overtaken by kiosks. So where do citizens gather? Where do children play? Where do young people sit to dream? Where do families relax without spending? The truth is that there is almost nowhere in modern Accra where you can simply sit, breathe, and be. We have designed a city for transactions, not for human beings. And it is killing the quality of life of ordinary Ghanaians. A city where 90% of residents cannot afford recreational space is a city that is spiritually and psychologically draining. A city where you must pay money just to see the ocean is a city where nature is no longer a communal inheritance, but a privatized asset. A city where there are no parks, no gardens, no free public squares is a city that produces stress, bitterness, and mental fatigue. The overwhelming pressure we see on our roads, in our workplaces, in our homes, it's not just because of traffic or the economy. It is because citizens have nowhere to escape emotionally. Accra has become a treadmill. Wake up at dawn, sit in traffic to work, sit in traffic again, reach home, watch TV, sleep, and then repeat. There's no space for joy, no space for contemplation, no space for community, no space for leisure. Everything has become a journey between two boxes, your house and your workplace, with a third box in the middle called trotro, if you're lucky. And our leaders do not feel this. They leave behind high walls, they drive in their air-conditioned cars, they drink imported coffee in gated establishments, and then spend weekends in resorts that the average citizen cannot even dream of entering. So they do not take their children to these same beaches that have to charge this. They go to the big resorts. They do not sit in neighborhood parks because they do not have to. So the absence of public spaces does not touch them. It does not inconvenience them. It does not shape their reality. That is why for years, nothing has been done. This is what gentrification looks like in Ghana. not glass towers replacing old neighborhoods, but public life being systematically privatized until only the privileged can fully enjoy the city fully. It is a silent, creeping injustice, and it must be confronted. We need to reclaim Accra for its people. We need zoning laws that protect the coastlines from full commercialization. We need green belts preserved by the law. We need playgrounds and parks in every district. And we need pedestrian-friendly streets. We need urban spaces where you don't need to buy anything to have the right to stay. We need city planners who understand that a city is not just an economic engine, but a social organism that must nourish the soul as well as the wallet. And we need leadership that understands that not every public good must be squeezed for revenue. Accra is not a shop. It is not a toll booth. It is not a franchise. It is a city. It is a public trust. It belongs to the people of Ghana, not to entrepreneurs, not to concessionaires. Fellow Ghanaians, we deserve a city that sees us, a city that welcomes us, a city that values our presence even when we are not paying for anything. We deserve free access to our beaches. We deserve clean, safe environments. We deserve to live in Accra without having to pay an arm's length to be able to get access to anything. We deserve a society that is not overly privatized. That is how we can get to a place where people live fulfilling life. But if people have to pay an arm and a leg to go and sit at the beach, all the terrible state with which even how much we pay, with what it is that is there, then we are not leaving. We are just getting to a place where so many people just do not have a joy. So fellow Ghanaians, you must speak out in your districts, in your communities, where some of these places are being privatized. It is not a luxury. Accra is not a luxury. These things are not luxuries. They are right. And your quality of life depends on that. Good morning, fellow Ghanaians.